What does slashing a trade deficit mean? What do you think he thinks a trade deficit is? Let's listen. Do you know what trade deficit means?
Something, the difference between imports and exports.
That's
Not really.
That's what a trade deficit is. Yeah. Okay. I think that some people think trade deficit means you're borrowing money, or it's like a deficit, like a. I think that's what Trump thinks it is. But let's listen to this. Maybe he. Yeah.
Under Joe Biden's nation-wrecking policies, our trade deficits are exploding like never before, killing jobs, killing factories, and killing America's economic future. As president, I began to successfully slash our trade deficits before the pandemic. Now the Biden administration has us bleeding wealth on a historic scale like never seen before. These gigantic trade deficits are also known as losses. Last year we lost
okay, yeah, you just
$383 billion to China.
That's
and nearly
okay.
Can we go to your YouTube chat? Sorry.
Yeah. Shapiro having Destiny's exact take on tariffs.
There's no correlation between trade deficit with a particular country and that country doing better than we are.
Oh, nice. 6 years ago. Oh, so this was when Trump was in office. I don't know what. Okay, let's see what he says.
That's just not the way any of this works.
True.
But the Trump administration is not doing this for economic reasons. They're doing it for cultural reasons. So here, let me explain why they're doing this for cultural reasons. Again, there's a picture. Okay, politics is about pictures. Politics is about stories. Politics is about narratives. So when I say trade deficit doesn't matter, it's true, but Trump is telling a different story. And the story that President Trump is telling is a story that goes something like this. Once upon a time, there were booming industries in the United States, large-scale factories, these big buildings located in Detroit, where people worked on employment lines, where they worked on manufacturing lines, and they worked there for 50 years, and they got the gold watch, and then they went home. And they had enough money based on that one salary to support their families. Why can't we go back to something like that? And the answer
this never happened. This was never the case. This was never true.
Is because America's economy is much more developed. You have better stuff now.
And that's true. We do last stage manufacturing more. Like we do more productive labor. We're not just making widgets. We're making cars built out of widgets.
Cheaper stuff now. The businesses that we work in are better to work in than those businesses. If you had a choice between working in a Pittsburgh smelter and working in the Pittsburgh healthcare industry, you would choose to work in the Pittsburgh healthcare industry.
Yes.
Pittsburgh, by the way, is doing quite well.
Yes.
Right? The Pittsburgh unemployment statistic right now, the Pittsburgh unemployment rate currently is 4.6% as of September 2017. Okay, that is lower than Pennsylvania as a whole. It's lower than Philadelphia at 6.0%. That's because Pittsburgh has totally shifted how it works. Pittsburgh has become one of the more beautiful cities in the Union. Pittsburgh is clean now. It is a service industry. It is a healthcare industry-driven city. But Trump doesn't like that. He wants to go back to the pictures from The Deer Hunter, where you've got Christopher Walken working in giant gloves. Or he wants to go back to the pictures from Breaking Away, where you've got working in
I hate him even more. So he does know all this. He's not a moron. That Harvard education did actually pay. He learned something.
In a quarry. That's what Trump thinks industry looks like. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Iran, by the way, has a trade surplus.
It's a child's view of manufacturing. Like manufacturing is when the guys come from the coal mines with the dirty gloves and they hit with the hammer things on an anvil and they make swords for like war. Like that's manufacturing.
Iran is number 15 in the world in trade surplus. Is their economy something that you like? Is that something that you think makes any sense? Here are the countries with the largest trade.
Oh, and he's pointing out, yeah, trade surpluses don't matter. Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Iran, by the way, has a trade surplus. Iran is number 15 in the world in trade surplus. Is their economy something that you like? Is that something that you think makes any sense? Here are the countries with the largest trade deficits, by contrast. The three largest trade deficits in the world: United States, UK, Canada. Do those economies sound pretty good to you? Because they are pretty good. India is a growing economy. They have a trade deficit. France has a pretty significant trade deficit. Australia has a significant trade deficit. Again, no correlation between having a trade deficit and having a poor economy. But again, it's not about that. It's about Trump thinking he's going to win politically because he promised a bunch of people in manufacturing industries he's going to bring their jobs back. I said at the time that's a lie. Those jobs aren't coming back. Those jobs left because of technology. They did not leave because of global competition.
True.
And certainly not going to be protected by killing jobs in other industries. Because all a surplus is, all a tariff is a tax that is being placed on everyone else for the benefit.
Oh, wait, what? Wait, hold on. We need to look for what has he said recently about tariffs. Somebody find me a 2024, 2023 statement about Ben Shapiro on tariffs. I'm so curious if he's changed his tune on this.
He used the word tax.
Oh my God.
At the time, that's a lie. Those jobs aren't coming back. Those jobs left because of technology. They did not leave because of global competition, and they certainly are not going to be protected by killing jobs in other industries. Because all a surplus is, all a tariff is a tax that is being placed on everyone else for the benefit of some. So if you
that's true. It almost sounds like I ripped my talking points from him. When people are trying to protect certain jobs, people will say we need to protect jobs, and they'll help a few people whose jobs are being protected, but then everybody else in the economy suffers because we all have to pay more money for this.
That, for example, the ethanol industry needs to be subsidized by the federal government. I don't think so. I think that it's nasty to tax me to pay off a bunch of farmers in Iowa. I don't see why that's useful.
I wonder.
The anti-farmer arc from Ben Shapiro.
I'm so curious what he said recently about.
There are still like 15, 20, 30% tariffs on like European goods that were put in place in like the 50s and shit. Because another thing about tariffs is they're really hard to reverse. Like once the economies adjust and there's often like retaliatory measures put in place and then they have to negotiate, they just stay for forever. So, wow.
Okay, Shapiro was anti-tariff in July.
Uh-huh.
He acknowledges it's insane. Oh wait, this is a week ago.
He's going to say that he won't do all of them.
0% income tax has been thrown around recently. Do you think that's even possible?
I think very, very implausible. I mean, dream of dreams, hope of hopes. I mean, like when Trump was talking about his 20% tariff plan or 10% tariff plan, like, but then when he's like, instead of the income tax, like,
But now why even throw some of these things out there? Because it seems like a lot of politicians are throwing out these wild pipe dreams. And you're just saying whatever.
Well,
how ridiculous.
Again, I think that's a great way to please everybody, right? You're saying, I'm going to throw out tariff plans, and that's going to bring manufacturing jobs back to the the Midwest, the Rust Belt. And then he's like,
I feel like I already know it. He's just going to say, he just says this, but he's not going to do any of it. That's my guess. But let's see.
I just said, but okay, go on.
but that also is going to increase
Wait, for what?
I just said he was going to say that.
Oh.
prices by 20. What if I said instead of the income tax? And it's like, okay, well, then I can have all the things. Like, again, that's the truth is that is, and there's solid precedent for that in American history. Before the income tax, that is actually how the federal government generated its income, was tariffing imported goods, and then...
Okay, so now...
Wait, what did he say?
He said there's precedent for having tariffs funding everything and not having an income tax. So now so he's not saying Trump won't do it. Now it sounds like he is kind of sort of supporting the...
What's the precedent? Did that last happen?
Before, I don't know, in the 1800s.
Actually, how the federal government generated its income was tariffing imported goods, and then there was no income tax. And I'd venture to say that was probably a better system. Tariffs plus a gigantic income tax, a pretty terrible economic system, actually. But yes, I mean, everyone throws out these plans. None of them will ever come to fruition. Similarly, Kamala Harris suggesting that she's going to tax unrealized capital gains is psychotic. Maybe it sounds good to her sort of Bernie Sanders, Thomas Piketty base.
I don't think it sounds good to a lot of people.
Well, anybody who has any basic knowledge of how businesses run,
valuations,
understands like that's it's psychotic. I mean, it's not like when I say full scale asylum level psychotic to suggest that as a serious.
So this is purely people throwing out random things just to appeal to people.
Right. But it means something to the American people. That's the problem that I have with it, is because we have a list right here of like the 0% income tax. We have the wall that was talked about forever, and obviously some of it was built, but now we obviously have the huge immigration problem. We have homelessness, which people are talking about, but nothing is ever done. Actually, today, Gavin Newsom did something. He put, what, 870 million towards homelessness, so hopefully we'll have one shelter in 30 years.
Yeah, after spending $24 billion on homelessness and totally failing.
And the wealth tax was an interesting one, too. Student loan cancellation, which is always talked about, it's never passed. The federal minimum wage of $7.25.
Again, these are such that the prices in the United States to consumers rise. That is the natural effect of a tariff. There's no way around that. Whether that leads to the kind of inflation that Kamala Harris is talking about, that she's created with loose fiscal policy, blowing trillions of dollars into the economy. If the definition of inflation is too many dollars following too little product, tariffs create too little product by limiting competition. As a general rule, this is not totally anti-tariff. Some tariffs are necessary for security purposes, but what tariffs do is they limit the availability of product with the same number of dollars. That will have some inflationary effect. Will it have a massive inflationary effect? Probably not. It'll have some, but not massive. You know what has a massive inflationary effect? Spending trillions and trillions and...
Okay. So now he's like way softer on it. Okay. Okay, what do we...
I would feel bad for him if it wasn't just so shameless.
Yeah. Oh, here's Trump.
I wonder if there was a really old video of Blair White doing a political compass test, but if you actually filled out the test the way she did it, she would have gone somewhere like center left or just center. But she got a separate result, and there's like a clip in the video where you can see like a right-wing result. So she did the thing, got a left-wing result, and then just cuts the video and then puts in a picture of the political compass result that puts her on the right. I sometimes wonder if like Ben Shapiro actually ideologically would align more with like a moderate Republican, or maybe even towards Harris than Trump. I don't know.
What do you mean?
Because...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I heard what you said. I don't know why I just said
Or
what you mean.
he would just
Wait,
be...
so you're saying that he did the test, and if you would have actually put in the answers, it would have come out differently, so he just like...
Well, I was talking about Blair White doing that.
Or Blair White,
but
okay.
It just makes me wonder like where Ben Shapiro actually would be if there wasn't that incentive to keep the audience happy. Like, I imagine he would probably just be more like in the sort of establishment Republican area, right? Like, just trying to oppose Trump from within. I don't think everything he believes about the economy and immigration and everything else should really make him a pro-Trump person. Like,
For Ben Shapiro?
Yeah.
No, yeah, Ben is... When I talked to him in person, I think he even said that like I like institutions and stuff like that. On a values level, he's not at all. Mm-hmm. But it goes back to the thing that I said before about our different media spheres, and that the right has to have a heterogeneous opinion on supporting the candidate. Like, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter who you have to support the party. They will always support the party. Mm-hmm. And then on the left, we don't do that at all.
Who supports Bernie Sanders anymore?
I don't know about support. I mean, like all the big left, like alt-left media figures.
But they shouldn't. Not really.
What do you mean by support? Like, do you mean that, they want him to be... They want him to go for presidency again, or what do you mean by support exactly?
Like, I feel like the way that the standards that people like Hassan and that whole gang have put up for just on the single issue, just on Gaza, or even on voting for the Democrats, like, I feel like Bernie should be a traitor to them or a sellout, but I guess they just like him because he reminds them of 2020, or I don't know. I think Bernie Sanders is like, it's one of those other things where he can attract really, really, really crazy far-left people, even though he's not quite that himself. But I guess if you just have the right rhetoric, I guess people will superimpose all the other stuff onto you, even if it's not there.
I think most people on the left still like Bernie, unless if you're like one of those, what is it? The upside down red triangle people.
Yeah.
Generally online, don't look at that stuff.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.